Hey, what's up? My name is Sunny, and today I'll be starting a YouTube series called Boot2root, in which I'll be practicing my penetration testing technique. And if you're not familiar with what boot2root is, it's basically the process of taking a virtual machine from the very first step of booting it up to actually exploiting it and gaining root access. And the root user is basically a super user that has administrator level privileges. And so basically, if I were a malicious party or a bad actor, I could exploit the machine, get root access, and after that I could perform a bunch of post-exploitation attacks, such as trying to extract sensitive information or poison other machines on the network. So it's the job of the ethical hackers, or white hat hackers as they're also known, to try to exploit the machines first and identify any potential vulnerabilities and report them to security teams before they're actually exploited by malicious parties. So that's what I'm going to be practicing here today. And I have what I've heard is a beginner-friendly target VM here called Kioptrix. So this is the Kioptrix Level 1 Penetration and Assessment Environment. And it clearly states the objective here, which is to acquire root access to the machine. Now, I have actually never even attempted a boot2root before, so this is going to be the first time I'm even trying it out, taking a crack at it, recording live. So, but I think the Kioptrix machine is like almost 10 years old now, so it's probably running some pretty dated software, which I'm hoping is not too much of a hassle to exploit. Anyway, I guess we will find out. So let's get right into this, shall we? I'm gonna go ahead and begin by finding out what my IP address is, and I'm going to keep some pretty detailed notes as I go along here. Actually, let me reduce the clutter. So just separate these windows here. Now, I'm running a distribution of Linux known as Kali Linux, as you can see right here, and it's maintained by an organization called Offensive Security, and it's a pre-configured form of Linux that comes with a bunch of really useful pen testing tools that, that we'll be making use of throughout the video. So now that I have my IP address, I can actually use the first three octets, as these three-digit numbers are known as. I can use the first three in what is known as my subnet mask. And I'm going to run a tool called netdiscover, which will help me identify machines on my subnet mask. And if you're not familiar with what a subnet mask is, then you probably need some networking fundamentals in order to follow along with me. But essentially, it's the range of IP addresses that can be assigned to machines connecting to your local network. And I say that because it might be intuitive to think that a machine would be assigned one specific IP address every time it connects to be identified by, but that's actually not necessarily the case. I believe this virtual machine actually uses something called DHCP, which stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, meaning that every time it boots up, it can be dynamically assigned a different IP address each time, which is why it's generally a good practice to go ahead and run a netdiscover and just try to do some basic information gathering and see if you can identify the IP address, because it might change over time. So as you can see here, we found 4 different IP addresses. Now, if you remember, I passed in the first 3 octets, which are not changing between these IP addresses, 192.168.29. It's only the last 3 digits which can vary from the range 0 to 255. So you can see that 1, 2, and 254, those 3 are all on the edges of that potential range for IP addresses, so they don't really interest me as much as this one does, right in the middle here, 192.168.29.148, which I believe is the target VM. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to go ahead and get into the enumeration phase and see if I can identify any vulnerable services running on the machine and what ports they might be running on that we can target. oh, whoops, 148. Actually, just for sake of organization, I'm going to organize these by the different stages of pen testing that they are relevant to. So we have reconnaissance, enumeration, and finally exploitation. So I'll move all of these over here into the recon page, and let's go ahead and try to begin enumerating our machine. So I'm going to be using a tool called Nmap, which stands for Network Mapper, and what it's going to do is it's going to run SYN scans over all of the different ports on the machine and try to identify on which open ports services and applications are actually running that we can then later on down the road try to exploit during the exploitation phase. But right now we're in the enumeration phase, so we're just trying to do some more information gathering here and try to find out as much as we can about whatever services are running on the machine. So if I actually go into the man page for Nmap, which stands for manual, a lot of Linux distros or programs running on Linux will allow you to pull up the manual for a program just by typing in man and then the program name, and it gives you some information about the program, and you can oftentimes find some example usage like you can right here. So nmap-a-t4, and then here is just the host that you want to scan. So that's just useful to know right there. And so basically we can go ahead and run an nmap scan using -v, indicating verbose output, meaning whatever results are found by the nmap scan will actually be outputted to my console log. -v, I'm going to specify a port range of 1 to 65,535, which will actually scan all of the available ports on the machine. And I'm going to go ahead and finally pass in the target IP, and as you can see, the verbose output is actually displaying all of the output onto my logs here. So this section is what we are really interested in, so I'm going to go ahead and paste that into my enumeration page, and you can see that SSH, which stands for Secure Shell, is running on port 22, and let's just go ahead and test that out, shall we? I can go ahead and try to, SSH into the machine, but okay, I guess it's not even letting me try to put in a password. But basically, SSH is just a way for you to try to connect to a secure shell on another machine from your own machine. So like the way I have this shell access on this machine right here, I could SSH into another machine and then run commands there from this terminal. Let's see, what else is running there? HTTP traffic is flowing through port 80, so that is that generally indicates some sort of web server running. It's probably Apache web server, which is pretty popular for surfing up files. What we might want to do is actually open up a browser and try to investigate this and see what type of web pages are being served up. RPC bind, NetBIOS SSN, HTTPS, KDM. So a lot of these services are actually running on the default ports. So an example of that is like SSH actually defaults to running on port 22. HTTPS defaults to running on port 443. So there's not really a much manual configuration that these guys did over here to try to like obfuscate whatever ports that their services might be running on. They didn't really seem to care that much. But okay, let's go ahead and now that we know which ports are actually vulnerable, or open at least, we can go ahead and try to perform a more involved scan using the -a flag, which, let's see, okay. if I go back to the man page, you can see that the -A is actually a flag that encompasses a lot of options in one. So it'll do quite a few things for us, one of which is OS detection. This is something that will automatically be turned on by enabling -A. If I can find -A. Here it is. Enable OS detection, version detection. So this will actually tell us the different versions of the services that are running on the different ports. So yeah, -A is pretty useful if you just want to get a more detailed result output. So we're going to be running nmap-a, -t4, which is just indicating how fast we want the scan to go. 0 is slower, higher numbers are faster. And we are just going to specify the specific ports that we had identified earlier, which are 22, 80, 111, 139, 443, and 1024. Let's go ahead and enable verbose output so we can see the output, and paste in our IP once more. Oops. There we go. And we'll just let that run. Since we enabled the -A flag, it's going to be taking a lot longer, even just for 6 ports. You can see how quickly our initial scan finished because we weren't doing the involved -A scan. But -A for this scan will actually take much longer. So what a lot of people do is they enable a quick scan on all the ports just to quickly see which ones are worth actually checking out, and then they run the involved scan with the -A flag, just targeting these specific ports. So you can imagine how long it would take if we were actually running an intense scan on all 65,000 something ports, which would just be unreasonable. So this is actually known as nmap scan staging, I believe, which is just a way to be a bit more efficient about which ports you intensely scan. Now, I think nmap actually also offers up a GUI tool known as Zenmap. So you can put in the IP of your target machine here. You can see it's automatically generating commands based on some predefined scan profiles here. So we have ping scan, TCP, UDP. Now I'm not going to get into the specifics of TCP versus UDP protocol. That's a topic for another time. Maybe I can make like a networking fundamentals for ethical hacking video or something. But we're just going to worry about TCP protocol for the sake of this video. Since it's a beginner machine, I don't think we have to do a UDP scan. So you can see that in the intent scan, they actually have the -A. Oh, -T4, -A, -V, it's exactly what we ran. So that's basically the scan profile that we used right there as an intent scan for those 6 ports. Okay, there we go. So it just finished. And you can see that the output is much more detailed. So let's take a look. Some more information about SSH. Aha, see, it is an Apache web server, and this actually gives us some information about the OS itself. It's running Red Hat Linux. Looks like OpenSSL is being used to secure the HTTP traffic. It's probably what's going on right here. 443, which was used for the HTTPS, is securing it using OpenSSL. Okay, we have a Samba server. So I know that on these older machines, generally Apache and Samba are pretty exploitable. As the years have gone, lots of exploits have been found for older versions of these services, so those might be the ones that we want to really investigate. Okay, so we have some guess of what version of the Linux kernel is being run, 2.4 dot something. And I actually don't think this is 100% reliable. I think you might want to take this with a grain of salt. It's usually just a best guess, but accurate enough to make it worth considering when you're searching for exploits. So I'll go ahead and try to investigate into these services in a bit. Let's just go ahead and include this detailed output into here. We can just overwrite this stuff since it's basically the same information, just more detailed. Alright, so let's take a look at the Apache web server that's running on port 80. So I'm going to open up a browser window and try to actually see what sort of website is being served up over there. Let me go back to the IP. Okay, yeah, so this also confirms that it is running Red Hat Linux, and you can see that it just has a default test page, which is not generally good convention. You at least want to show like a template or something, some sort of landing page or some default page, or I don't know. Okay, so yeah, they're running an Apache web server. Let's just inspect the source. Okay, yeah, nothing in the head. So it looks like there's some information about the directory structure of the web server. So etc httpd conf httpd.conf, I believe that's some configuration file for the web server itself. So yeah, exploiting the machine and gaining root access would allow us to completely mess up whatever web server they have running here. Okay. Version 1.3.2. Alright, and now, let's see, so it looks like Nmap gave us the version of Apache 1.3.2, but we don't have the version of Samba. So let's look into that. Okay, so we're about to get into some more useful pre-configured tools that Kali Linux comes with. We're going to go ahead and use something called search exploit, and we'll just pass in, you can pass in the name of the service, the version itself, if you know what it is, but we don't, so let's just pass in Samba, and it will show us a lot of exploits that we could potentially use. That these are all on the right side, already existing on the machine itself, and this is pretty much just a fresh install. All I really did was like change my desktop wallpaper. That's really it. So yeah, Kali comes loaded with a bunch of these really popular exploits that other hackers have already found and written up. So they automate a lot of the legwork for us, which is really handy. That's why it's one of the most popular pen testing distributions out there. So we can see, as you can see, it's they're organized mainly by the version number itself. So you really want to try to figure out what version of the services are being run on the different ports. Otherwise, this isn't really too helpful for us. But thankfully, there's another tool that we can use called Metasploit. So running MSF console will pull up the Metasploit framework console, and this is another very useful tool that comes preloaded onto Kali. Go ahead and minimize you. Alright, so let's go ahead and search for Samba. Let's see if we can try to figure out what version is running on here. Scanner, yeah. we want to look for an auxiliary script, auxiliary scanner. Just go ahead and maximize. Let's try SMB. There should be something that lets us see the actual version itself. Check dir file. The file directory. Maybe. Okay, I don't. Oh, I think enumeration. Aha, here it is. SMB version. I think this is what we're looking for. Alright, so we can go ahead and did not copy? Oh. Here we go. Okay. Alright, so now that we are using a specific module, we can go ahead and run options to see what we need to configure in order to actually use it. So we need our hosts and threads. One thread should be fine, so let's go ahead and set our hosts to the IP address of our target machine. Alright, Samba 2.2.1a. Let's go ahead and note this down. Oops. Alright, what did we use? So I'm going to take a note of the specific MSF module that we used in order to get this information. Alright, 2.2.1a. So we can also use Metasploit to look for exploits themselves, just like we were on Searchsploit. So we can search for Apache, and instead of looking at the auxiliary section, we can look at the exploit scripts. Linux. Sorry, I'm just going to go ahead and zoom out, just because I think it's really annoying having this be split up onto multiple lines like that. It would be nice if we could get clean remote code execution. Just let us get like a reverse shell or something. But I don't really know one that really stands out to me specifically here. Just judging by the names of the exploits on the right side. No, that's scanner, not an exploit. Okay, let's look at Samba again. Or I guess we can also, it might be worth taking a look at Surfsploit as well. And we have the Apache version here. What was it? 1.3.2. And file disclosure. Oh no, that's on. These are both for Windows systems. What was the version of Samba running? 2.2.1a. Let's see. Exploits for Linux. 2.2.1a. Here's one. Trans2open. Looks like a buffer overflow exploit for OS X. Oh, but it's also... I see a lot of these. Trans2open. Buffer overflow. Okay, Okay, well, it looks like it might exist as a Metasploit module anyway, so I'm just gonna look for it there. Let's see. Exploit. If we can find it under Linux, that might be worth a shot. What was it called? Trans2open? Ah, okay, it was under Samba, not SMB. So it looks like this is the one we can go ahead and try to use. Okay, just gotta set our host IP. And let's go ahead and give this a shot. Okay, I'm just gonna let's just try to rerun this maybe a few times, I don't know. Okay, let's look into the different payloads that the module offers us. So even if a module doesn't immediately work, it's not, you don't necessarily have to give up right there. So modules can use payloads in the form of staged and unstaged payloads, meaning that the exploit can deliver all of the malicious code. Actually, I think this is a remote code execution, this particular exploit. So a staged payload would perform the attack in different stages, whereas an unstaged payload would just deliver all of the harmful code all at once, I believe. At least that's my understanding of it. I'm not too well versed in the actual exploits themselves. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty much a glorified script-kiddie, but hey, that's the whole point of this YouTube series, to try to learn and hone my skills as I go. So we should try to use maybe, what payload am I using now? So we're using a staged payload, and you can tell it's staged by the different slashes separating the last part of the name from the rest of the payload name. So if this were interpreter underscore reverse underscore TCP, that would actually be the name of an unstaged payload. So we're going to try to find, it looks like it is a remote code execution trying to set up a reverse shell to give us access on this machine to run commands on the target machine. So we're going to try to perform the exact same attack just using a different unstaged payload. Let's see how that goes. So Linux, definitely, x86. And I'm just double tabbing here, hitting tab twice to try to show the different options for the command that I have currently partially typed out, which is very useful on the Linux command line. Let's see. So we want to find a reverse TCP. Looks like this is it, shell underscore reverse TCP. Let's make sure all of our options are set. Yep. And let's give this a go. Nice little fun fact for you is that in the Matrix Reloaded, the second one, Trinity actually uses the tool that we used near like the beginning of the video, Nmap. She actually uses Nmap in that movie. She runs an Nmap command. And it shows the output. You can see like TCP ports being opened. So that's pretty cool. Shell session 9 opened. Oh. Looks like that was enough to get us root access on the box. Okay. Okay, wow. We are in the directory of the target machine, and we already have root access? Wow, okay. So, I guess Samba 2.2.1a is not the most vulnerable version of Samba that they could be using right now. But I mean, the box is 10 years old, so I don't really know what I was expecting, but wow, I really wasn't expecting like one of the first few Metasploit modules I tried to work out, but whatever. Okay, so let's try to see what we can actually do with this. Okay, I should actually go ahead and document this. So I'll document the specific payload I used. And yeah, this was Samba trans2 open. Wow, I wasn't expecting that to go by so smoothly, but not going to complain. So let's see what we can do here. Let's pull up Firefox again. So if you remember, when we pulled up the page source, it actually gave us some information. Actually, it does right here. It gives us some information about the directory listing. You can see that we have some directories here, such as etc httpd, conf httpd, .conf, var, www. I believe in Apache web servers, the files being served up actually exist in this var www directory. So let's see if we can try to mess around with the index.html that exists on the target machine. That'll be a good way to actually demo that the commands I'm running in this shell are actually taking place on the target machine, and the changes can be reflected on the web server itself. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Cd into var, ls. Let's go to HTML, and bam, index.html. So let's try to just poke into this. Okay, let's try to mess around here. Oh, command not found. Okay. Looks like we don't have nano apt cache. We don't. What does Red Hat Linux use? I might use yum instead of apt and apt-get. Yeah. Okay, so let's just, nope, install nano on Red Hat Linux. Maybe it's just yum install nano or something like that. Actually, yeah, let's just give that a go. No. Okay. Not on Debian or Ubuntu. CentOS. Install nano. Can we just try that? Yep. I really want to mess around with that index.html just to show you guys that the changes can be reflected. Okay, but I don't even have the yum package manager on here, so I guess let's just remove index.html and oh, okay, so we can just, now that we don't have an index.html anymore, it's just showing us the index of the directory itself. So we can just go ahead and navigate around in here. What is this? User manual for mod SSL. So it looks like this is some documentation on the SSL encryption. So I guess that's cool. It's not really that interesting to me as a malicious party, though. Well, yeah, so as you could see, the changes that I made, removing the index.html file, using this shell, actually made the changes occur on the target machine, Kioptrix, and I was able to test that out by actually refreshing the page, and the test page, landing page, is gone. So, let's see. Yeah, acquire root access to the machine is the object of this game, and it looks like we win. So it looks like that's it for this video. Please let me know if there's anything I could have done differently or more efficiently. I appreciate any and all feedback you guys might have. And yeah, that was my first attempt at a boot to root, and I wasn't expecting it to go as well as it did, but I guess there's a reason that Kioptrix is recommended for beginners, but for now, thank you if you've stuck with me all the way through until the end, and I hope to see you guys next time. Thanks.